Hello and welcome to the Chicory video series on maintenance. This week we're going to work on the Mercury 20 horsepower outboard. We went into Spanish Wells yesterday on the way back, a couple hundred yards from Chicory. The engine kind of stalled a little bit and it wouldn't run very well. We were able to limp back sort of at idle, but it seemed like it was running on just one cylinder instead of two, so we're going to investigate it today and I'll take you through the process. Hang in there. So the first step I'm going to do is put new spark plugs in. Part of that process I'm going to check if each one has spark so I can check the coil. But I want to pre-prepare these, and according to the manual, the spark plug needs to be gapped at 35 thousandths. If you're not familiar, this is a feeler gauge, and this particular wire is marked at 35 thousandths. And what I do is I just test to see if I can fit that wire in just so it just fits. It doesn't, it needs to be widened out a little bit, so I'm using this tool, and you can see that I put it on the edge here, and I use this as a lever just to open it up just a teeny bit, and then I go back to the 35 thousandths, and now I've got it just a little too much. So now I'm going to use the wrench again, and I'm going to bend it down just a teeny bit. And that is about perfect. So I'm just going to do the other one now, and then what I'll do is I'm going to pull out the spark plugs. I'm going to inspect them, and I'll show you, but it might be easier to see here. I'm going to put the spark plug boot on here, and I'm going to hold this against the block, and then I can visually see when I turn over the engine if a spark goes across there. And that's the way I'm going to check to see if the coil on the engine is firing both cylinders. So this will allow me to troubleshoot whether it was a spark plug or whether the spark coming from the coil is the issue. I'll be back in a minute. One of the other things I'm going to do is replace the fuel filter, and I've removed it from this little house right here, and I'm going to take the fuel lines off. And the reason that I'm doing that right now is this spark plug down here, the spark plug wire, is a little more accessible with this out of the way. So I'm going to just take the fuel lines off. I'm going to set this aside for right now, move the fuel lines, and pull that spark plug boot off. So what I did is I pulled the spark plugs and put the new ones in that you saw me gap, and I put one plug on and it started, and then I put the other plug on and started. So I alternated the spark plug wires, and both fired and tried to start the motor. So that led me to believe that both coils and both spark plugs were working. So I just finished by replacing the fuel filter. So now let's do some post-analysis with the spark plugs. Tracy's going to zoom in here, and you can see that they're in pretty good shape. And I checked the gap, and they are still gapped almost perfectly at 35 thousandths. There's a little bit of buildup on it, but in my opinion, these are good-looking spark plugs. So I'm not exactly sure why the spark plugs in this state were having trouble firing, but the new ones are running amazing. So we're going to continue testing it and make sure that there's nothing else that's some sort of intermittent issue, but I'm really pleased with this. So for some reason, changing the fuel filter and the spark plugs did the trick, but it seems to be performing very well right now. So we're going to say it's a win, and we're going to end this video. Thanks a lot for subscribing, liking, viewing, and commenting. Until next week, thank you.